Hello, this is Steven Seifert. Welcome to Steve Fest 2021, day 3. This is Saturday, September 4th, and we're going to be working on chords today. This is session 13, Mountain Dulcimer Chord College. Get your degree, metaphorically. Learn the 3 main chord shapes and how to use them for backup and chord melody. Getting your eyes and hands used to these shapes makes everything else easier. The funny part is you don't get to appreciate that sentence, everything else easier, until you get further down the road. I'm 47, I think. I don't remember, tell you the truth. COVID makes, I don't know what my birthday is. It's like I lost a year. Um, but when I was in high school, when I was 16, I remember studying these chord charts for Dulcimer. And I just learned a bunch of new stuff about the same page I just sent you, the one you're looking at the page this year. It's still giving me goods. So you're not going to get everything we do today, but you're going to begin the journey. A lot of people take this class, and the second or third time, I'll see their face. They do this. That's what I see. And then usually they type something or say something. They have a light bulb moment. That's what we're hoping for here. So let's jump in. We got a lot to do. Let's see. I hit the wrong one. Okay. Let's get away from this printed chart for a second. That was a story we were telling in the last workshop. There we go. All right, on this dulcimer, first thing I want you to get is just the number pattern of these chord shapes. Now, you're certainly welcome to finger these as I call them out, but I'd kind of rather, just for about 2 or 3 minutes or 5 minutes, I'd rather you not touch your dulcimer. Just look at it, and we're going to think number patterns. This isn't everyone's strength, but even if you're bad at it, I want you to experience it for about 5 minutes. I think it'll be good for you. I'm going to show you the 3 kinds of chords, and I want you to think of the number pattern. Your job right now is not to touch the dulcimer. It's to think about the pattern. So let me show you one of them. We do this all the time. Let's see, I think I can do this different. How about this? This one is an open, open, 2. We're not going to talk about, what chord is this, but I call this an L shape because if you connect the dots, it looks like an L on its side or something like that. If I connect these dots like that. And this same chord shape exists here at 113, 224. Now I'm going to have to redraw it. It also exists at 335. There we go. Let's do this. It also exists at 446 and a half, 557. Let's jump up and do 779, 8810. So what's the number pattern here? First 2 numbers are the same. What goes on your bass and middle? And the last number is kicked up by a couple. And you can start an L chord anywhere you want. Let's say I start one on 3 on the bass. Whatever's on the bass goes on the middle, and then the melody string gets kicked up a couple. Whatever frets you end up touching, you want them to be in the key of D for today's workshop. So what I want you to do is I don't want you to use, I'm going to go ahead and get this out of the way. We're not going to use 6 on the bass, and we're not going to use 6 on the melody, and we're not going to use 6.5 on the middle. And the reason is those notes are not in the key of D, and since we only have an hour, we're going to stick with key of D. So let me use a different color to do this. I'll do green for go. That makes me feel happy. Okay. So let's look at these. Just look at the number pattern, 002. And then the next one's going to be 113. And then 224. I don't mind if you touch your dulcimer. I just want you thinking of these number patterns. 3, 3, 5. Now here's the first one that gets weird. 4, 4, some kind of 6. Which 6 do we want on the melody string? 6 or 6.5? Well, I've put an X on 6. It's not in the key of D. Let's use the 6.5. It is in the key of D. 4, 4, 6.5. Let's do the next one. 5, 5, 7. The final one is very bizarre. Some kind of 6. Which one are we going to use? 6.5. It's the only one available. On the middle string, some kind of 6. Well, I can use the 6 on the middle. Some kind of 6, some kind of 6, and then go up a couple to 8. That's the weird one. And then it all repeats. Everything we just did repeats starting here at 7, 7, what? 9. The most important thing is not necessarily the frets. It's thinking of, for this number pattern business, some kind of 6, some kind of 6, skip any kind of 7, 8, 6, 6, 8, 6.5, 6, 8, some kind of 6, some kind of 6, 8. All right, so what I want you guys to do is just, without touching your dulcimer, I want you to say all the L chords I just did with me as I say them. We'll start with an O. Whatever we start with, you say that again, and then you go up a couple numbers. 0, 0, 2. Next one. 1, 1, 3. 2, 2, 4. Say it right with me. 3, 3, 5. Here's the first tricky one. 4, 4, 6.5. 5, 5, 7. 6.5, 6, 8. Some kind of 6, some kind of 6, 8. And then we'll start with 7, 7, 9. I just want you to appreciate that those numbers are there to help you. I'm not saying to think of them all the time, but it's just good to know when you get lost in the weeds a little bit to understand that these number patterns can help you out a little bit. Let's go ahead and play these. There's many ways to finger these. 002. Let's do the next one. What is it? 113. 224. 335. I'm using middle, ring, thumb. Look at this next one. 4, 4, 6.5. 5, 5, 7. The weird one. 6.5, 6, 8. And then 7, 7, 9. I want to hear this a little. I'm going to have a little fun with this. Let's see. I love that. I love being able to just have a little fun and move something around like that. Um, the reason it's important I point out that this is fun is you got to spend a lot of time with these shapes to really get them down, and you certainly want to take advantage of anything that makes it fun. So just moving these suckers around. Um, Now, you don't even know what they are yet, but I want you to know we're covering 3 shapes today. This is one of them, and you don't have to even know music theory to have fun with it. It doesn't work this easy on like guitar. Mountain Dulcimer, the fact that certain frets are missing makes this work out great. It means you don't have to go to music school. This thing I just did here. To do that on guitar, you got to work your butt off. I learned some of that this summer, and it took me 3 months solid to just be able to do that on guitar. 3 months, and we watched that Game of Thrones, and then we watched some of that Downton Abbey. I was mostly practicing these things on a guitar, and I kept thinking, no wonder we like the Dulcimer. So before we go on, any questions about what I've covered? I know I still need to tell you all kinds of things, but that's an L shape. You move it around. Let's talk about how it gets its name. And remember, when you have to choose some kind of 6, on the bass and melody, we're going to go with 6.5 just today. And on the middle string, we're going to go with that 6 there. All right. So let's go look at this handout. The top of this handout gives you a note. It tells you what all the notes are. And the biggest ones you really need to have, I think, for this shape especially, is the bass string from here to here. And for today's class, we're not going to worry about the 6 because we're trying to stay with stuff that's in the key of D. These L chords, the root of the chord is on the bass. The root is the first and primary, most important note of the chord. It gives the chord its name. So look at this 2-2-4. What's a 2 on the bass? It's an F sharp. This is an F sharp chord of some kind. It happens to be an F sharp minor, but we don't need to talk about minor and major right now. Just think of it as an F sharp L chord. The root is on the bass. And in my mind's eye, when I play this, I always think about where the root is. This L chord, the root is on the bass. Whatever note is on the bass names this chord, at least the letter name. Like I said, we don't know if it's major or minor yet. So, what do you do with that information? Well, here's something to add to your to-do list. You need to memorize the notes on the bass up to here, the stuff I've circled. What's really nice is once you have that, then you already have the same notes on the melody. It's just a duplication, same stuff. And also, once you have it from O to 7, you get the same thing duplicated from 7 to 14. So what's cool is you've got, if you'll just memorize the notes on the bass from O to 7, you actually have 2/3 of the notes on your instrument from just learning O to 7 on the bass. And where that comes in handy is if I want to say, let's start up on this note, this F sharp up here, do an L chord. That's also an F sharp chord. It matches the one down here. So we're not going to play up high today, but I want you to know how important it is to memorize the notes on the bass, including the C that I crossed out. Let's do it again where we call out all the L chords together. So we're going to start with this D here. Just call out the numbers with me. 002, then we move to the E, 113, then the F sharp, 224, the G, 335, the A, 446 and a half, the B, 557, the weird one, C sharp, 6 and a half, 6, 8. Because we're purposely avoiding what? I want you to think about it again. We're purposely avoiding the sixes on the outer strings because they're not in the key of D, and we don't have time to do all keys today. And we're ignoring 6 and a half on the middle because it's not in the key of D either. Do that one more time. Say them as I say them from the beginning. 002, 113, 224, 335, 446 and a half, 557, and the weird one, 6 and a half, 6, 8. I imagine you guys have been running these up and down. I hope you are. Let me give you just a minute to run them up and down. I'm using middle ring thumb for this class. I normally don't use this fingering as much nowadays. I did for years though. But it's a good first finger. Whatever note is on my bass string, that's the name of the chord I'm playing. Part of the name. I mean, it's if you never learned a single song on the Dulcimer, I really think a person could buy a decent Dulcimer. You can get them for $180. Learn how to tune the darn thing. Show a person that one shape, and they have enough to go sit out on the front porch every once in a while, watch the sun go down, and just enjoy a little music. I think it's important to look at it that way. Now, I could show you so many different fingerings for this, and we don't have time to cover all that, but watch this. Some people, they use these fingers, index, middle, thumb. So it's either middle ring thumb, index, middle thumb. Some people do this. Watch. They'll hold down 3 twos, 2, 2, 2, and then they'll put this down. Or some people do 2, 2, 2, middle ring, pinky, and put this down. I do this. I take my ring finger, and I'm not holding it down across all strings. I'm only holding it down for bass and middle. And then my index finger goes here. So look at what that one looks like. Sometimes I use my pinky to do that. But sometimes I do use that thumb method. No questions about that one. All right. Now, one question that usually comes up is, how do you know if it's major or minor? Right now, I don't want you to worry about that. We're doing the shoot from the hip approach. Typically in Dulcimer land, if you play, you're forced into doing many things. Like there is no D minor on here, really. There is no, there is no F sharp major. So sometimes you do get a little bit of a choice. Let's look at the next shape. This next shape I call a slant. Some teachers have different names for these. A slant. Here's the first slant I want you to look at. 2, 3, 4. Let's look at the number pattern for a second before we play it. What if you slide, the whole thing slides. What if you slide that to the left? You get a 1, 2, 3. Here's a 2, 3, 4. If you slide it to the right, what do you get? You get a 3, 4, 5. It's 3 consecutive numbers. Now remember, we don't want to use sixes on the outer strings, and we don't want to use 6.5 on the middle. So call the numbers out with me. Without touching your dulcimer, just think numbers. Start with an O and do 3 consecutive numbers. Say them right with me. O, 1, 2. Next one. 1, 2, 3. Next one. 2, 3, 4. 3, 4, 5. The next one's a tricky one. 4, 5, some kind of 6. Which one? 6.5. 4, 5, 6.5. Next one. 5, 6, 7. Next one. 6.5. 7, 8. Next one. 7, 8, 9. 3 consecutive numbers. Say them with me fast. 0, 1, 2. 1, 2, 3. 2, 3, 4. 3, 4, 5. 4, 5, 6.5. 5, 6, 7, 6.5, 7, 8. Let's hear some of those suckers. I mean, that's pretty cool. Sometimes when I'm playing a slow song, I really do this. Listen to this. I abandon the melody for like 1 or 2 measures and I just move a chord shape around. I don't even need to know what they are for the most part. It helps to know a little. The interesting thing about these slants, they get named by whatever note is on the middle string. The L chord we did first, it gets named by whatever's on the bass. But these suckers, these 3 consecutive numbers, they get named by what's on the middle string. So every time you do a slant, whatever note's on the middle, that is the note that names the first part of the chord. So what do you got to memorize next? You got to memorize the notes on the middle. And I guess really from O to 6.5, if you think of it. And then that same thing repeats. So you don't need to learn up high. You kind of already have it. So if you remember, when we did the bass string, memorize those notes, that gave us actually the entire bass and melody string. Now this gives you the entire middle. And I want to remind you, you got to learn the bass from O to 6.5. And then it repeats. And then you got to learn the middle from O to 6.5. And you should be able to deduce the entire rest of the instrument by just memorizing those. And that's not a lot to ask. Like guitar has 6 strings. 2 of the strings are the same note. So really you got to learn 5. Well, we just got to learn 2. That's why we love the dulcimer, isn't it? So move these around a little bit, these slants, and don't forget about I'm going to keep saying it. We're going to avoid the sixes on the outer strings, and we're going to avoid 6 and F in the middle. It's nice to put them in later, just not right now. Now, what I want you to imagine doing is if we were sitting knee to knee, you could just move these shapes around, and then I could just make up melodies by just wandering on one string, even. Let's do that for a second. I want you to move these slants around just a little bit. You can use middle index thumb. You can use ring middle index. There's other possibilities. Just move a shape around while I play. And let's pretend we're doing a little movie music here. There you go. And if we were sitting here with each other, I would want to swap roles. So let me do the chords. You just play something on the melody string, just picking it like this. Here we go. You play the melody. And then we could go into Southwind, make a nice intro. So any questions about the L and the slant? Let's review them. I'd say these are the two most common of the three. The L chord gets its name by the bass string, whatever note's on the bass. The slant gets its letter name, or its root is found on the middle string. Now, I haven't gone over the third shape yet, but you might guess that the third shape gets its name by whatever note's on the melody string. So somebody give me a question about this. I need a question.
Okay, I have a question.
Yeah.
So if you're playing chords, watching someone's hands that's playing more of the melody, do you play a chord that includes the same melody chord they're playing or melody string they're playing?
Kind of. Not completely, but kind of.
So you can play anywhere. As long as
you want to emphasize the melody you create should emphasize whatever the chord everyone has agreed on is. I mean, this is one way to look at it. Whatever the chord is at this given point in time, someone making up a melody should emphasize the notes of that chord and make heavy use of them, but you don't have to only use them. You just want to make a big deal about them. The reverse process, which is what I think you're saying, if somebody else is playing a melody, I might want to look at it. Let's say you recorded them just playing a melody. I might look at it and say, what notes are they making heavy use of? And then I might want to look for chords that happen to be those very notes they're making heavy use of. But there's exceptions and there's tweaks that can be made. But the reason, a chord progression sounds particularly good with a melody is there's these moments where the melody's using a lot of the notes of that chord. That's why it sounds pretty good. Music's kind of an interesting thing.
And is there a rule? I know there's not a rule, but is there a preference to which kind of chord you use, L, a slant, or whatever,
I
to
don't think
match
so.
their melody?
Well, one thing I might do is let me show you guys this because that's a good point. Let's say somebody's melody is right around in here. I could use a chord shape right around there also. So you're doing all this stuff, and I'm over there doing this. And it's okay. You can definitely do that a lot. But sometimes it's nice to think about getting that chord away from that general area of the dulcimer and put it somewhere else where they can really complement each other instead of duplicating a lot of the same notes. So while you're down here doing this, I might use the L chord up here. I'll show you what that sounds like. Let's see. No, I think this would be good. So listen as I play the chord down here where they're at. It's pretty, but listen when I go somewhere else. Kind of get out of their way, or I might come down here, which is a little out of their way. So I wouldn't say that one of those was better or worse, but you just need to be aware of sometimes. And that's one reason you want to know these chords because you're doing bottom cabbage backup. And then all of a sudden you're up here where you can sound like a mandolin. And then the next one, you don't want to do the same thing again, so maybe you move down here. Then I want to sound like Western swing, maybe. And the reason I can bounce around like that is these three chord shapes primarily. I can play a D chord here, 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 and I've got it down where I don't have to think about it too much. Let's look at one more shape here. The first one we did was an L, and that's where the first two numbers are the same. So you've got 1, 1, 3. That was the L shape. Then we did the slant, 3 consecutive numbers. 1, 2, 3. That's what we just did. Look at this last one here, this 3. This is a slant chord. But if you take that 3 and you extend it up one more note in the scale, you get a 1, 2, 4. That's not 3 consecutive. That's the slant was 1, 2, 3. This is a 1, 2, 4. This is an extended slant. This is an extended slant. Very similar to the slants, but the final string is up one higher. So I want you to think about the number pattern on this like we did the other two. Let me do this in green. All right. Open, 1, 3. So the first two numbers are consecutive, and then you have a little bit of a jump. The next one starts on 1. So you got 1. Where's it going? 1, 2, 4. What if we started at 7? What would you have? 7, 8, 10. Make sure you're concentrating on the number pattern. Here's a tricky one: 3, 4, skip 5, and then some kind of 6. 3, 4, 6.5. We're still avoiding those red notes. Let's start on the bass at 4. 4, 5, skip any kind of 6, 7. 4, 5, 7. Here's another one: 5, 6, skip 7, do an 8. What if I just did 5, 6, 7? Well, that's a slant. That's the one we did earlier. Extended slant, you end up pushing that last one up one more higher. So I want you to say all these with me, starting with this O down here. O, 1, 3. Let's start with a 1. 1, 2, 4. 2, 3, 5. Next. 3, 4, some kind of 6, 6.5. 3, 4, 6.5. 4, 5, 7. 5, 6, 8. 6.5, 7, 9. Listen to them. The root of an extended slant is on the melody string. So let's look at the first extended slant on the dulcimer. It's an O, 1, 3. O, 1, 3. Open, 1, 3. What note is this on the melody string at 3? It's a G. So this is some kind of G chord. If I move this up to the right, what's a 1, 2, 4? You can also do middle index thumb there. 1, 2, 4. What's on the melody? An A, some kind of A chord. Look at my index, how it's going straight down. If I had a long fingernail at all, I couldn't do that. I'd have to do weird things like this. So one benefit of having absolutely very little nail there is I can come straight down. Now, when you first do this, it hurts the tip of your finger, but when you get calluses on there, it certainly helps quite a bit. So practice moving your extended slant around. A lot of you are probably going to want to do middle index thumb. Just move it around a little bit, especially when you get up here, it gets tricky. Mind your whatevers, your red X's. Let's just play this a little. All right, so we got 3 chords. L, slant, and extended. And this handout shows you these suckers. Let's look at the D major fingerboard here. Let's look at the G major and the A major, all 3 of these. In the key of D, these are the 3 chords come up more than any other. So that's why we're focusing on these today. So I want to find the L on each one of these. L chord, the root is on the bass. So if you look at D major, find D's on the bass. I'll remind you. There they are. They're at O and 7. So we actually have L's right here. O what? 002 77 what? 779. Let's find our G L chords. Find a G on the bass. We have one at 3. Well, there's an L chord. Happens to be one up here at 10. A L chord. A on the bass at 4. A on the bass at 11. Next, let's find extended slants. No, let's do slants. I want to do slants. Where's it? Look at the D major fingerboard. Where's a D on the middle? 3. Okay, so I found my slant. There's also a D on the middle up here at 10. G major. Where's a G on the middle? 6. All right. There's also one up at 13. I don't typically go up that high, but I might just every once in a while. For A major, where's an A on the middle? Well, we have an A on the middle right here. Look at this. But there's not enough room to do a chord with it. So I'm going to use the one up here at 7. And then I'm just about out of notes there on the paper. So we did L, where the red, where the root is on the bass, the slant, the green, where the root is on the middle. And now I'm going to do one more, the extended slant, where the root's on the melody. Where's a D on the melody? Well, we have one right here open, but there's not enough room to do the extended slant. So I'm going to use this D up here at 7. What's an extended slant that ends with a 7? Something, something, 7. 4, 5, 7. Look on up here. There's another one. G major. Where's a G on the melody string? We've got one at 3. Well, there's your first extended slant. 0, 1, 3. Up here we've got 7, 8, 10. For A major, I have an A on the melody string at 4. So the first extended slant for A is 1, 2, 4. And then there's another one up here. So check this out. Those reds, look at the reds. If you look at D, G, and A, notice how they're all grouped together. And then look to the right of that. The greens are grouped together and the blues are grouped together. I want you to notice some patterns here. To the right of every L is a slant. To the left of every slant is an L. To the right of every slant is an extended slant. To the left of every extended slant is a slant. To the right of every extended slant is an L. And to the left of every L is an extended slant. And it works like this for all these chords. Even the other chords we're not going to cover today. The order is L, slant, extended slant, L, slant, until you run out of notes in either direction. There's something else you need to see. This is good. This is good stuff here. Let me make sure what we got here. All right. Watch this. I'm going to do all these in red. Here's an L. If you take the last and highest number of the L, what is it? This 2. And you move that over to the bass, that's where your next shape begins. So I want you to see right here that the L and the slant share a common fret space. It's 2. Where one ends up, the other one begins, starting over on the bass. And it works like this also for the extended slant. So look at the slant, 2, 3, 4. Put that 4 on the bass, begin an extended slant. And it keeps going. Put that 7 on the bass, begin an L. Put that 9 on the bass, begin a slant. Put the 11 on the bass, begin an extended slant. And these others work like that too. Now, the reason this is helpful is before you can start using, a lot of people say, well, what are we supposed to do with this? Well, before I can really show you, it helps if you go ahead and get this stuff down. Memorize the notes on the bass and middle from O to 6.5. Spend time just moving these shapes around, L's. And then I'll do some slants. Then I'll do some extended slants, some L's again. Slant, L, slant, L, slant, L. I love to move in one direction or the other and just go between two shapes. I'll go between L and extended. It's just fun. You'll end up playing every song you ever heard almost. Not quite. So memorize the notes so that you can name these, at least give them their letter name. Secondly, practice just making up stuff with these three shapes. So even though you might not know what to do with them yet, you're developing callus, strength, stretch, and you're starting to develop a familiarity with how these feel and sound and look in different places. And then the next homework is, this is the way I do it, and you hear this from a lot of musicians. If you've ever been on a treadmill, it helps a lot on the treadmill if you've got an audiobook or a TV screen in front of you. At least it does me. It just, maybe I'm screwed up. But when I really wanted to learn this, I would sit and watch TV, but not really watch it. I just had it going, like old MASH episodes are perfect for this. And then you watch the TV and you just, play. And you can easily get in a half hour a day of just chord shapes as long as you're thinking about something else. But what's really good is to practice each chord only for a while. L, slant, extended slant. So learn the L, slant, extended of the D. Look at the G fingerboard. Learn the L, slant, extended of the G. And the A, the L, slant, extended of the A. Here's your homework assignment. You need to get L, slant, extended for each one of these. It's the key we play in the most. It's the three chords that are most used in that key. And then to add to that homework, I think it's good to fit these in. Here is a slant, and an extended slant. And on the A, here's an extended slant to the left there. And it really doesn't hurt on the D to go ahead and add this next L. So watch. I'm watching MASH and I'm going D's. And I'm just watching TV. You might even strum a little. Sometimes I finger pick. Here comes Klinger. Here comes Major Burns. Then I might, as a break, just move slants around a little bit. And then I practice my G's. I might just go between two of them. Back to the D's. You want to figure out, be a teacher, teach yourself, figure out all the different ways you can practice this. After you have D and G, watch. D, G. Then you just watch TV, and what I do is I practice something until it becomes automatic, where I notice I'm not having to think about it so much. Then watch this. D, G, right here. Now I want to do D and G in the next area. D and G in the next area. And this is where you have to be the teacher. You're coming up with all kinds of different ways. You throw the A in there, and you can do this. Watch. D, G, A, G, D, G, A, G, in the next position. And then I'm going to work my way up to the next position. I highly recommend. I mean, I know we're all different. Some are ear players, some are more sight readers, some people are composers, some people are improvisers. But everybody can benefit from some kind of relaxing time just moving shapes around and creating a musical attitude in you, developing the hand, the shape recognition, the feel, getting used to the sounds of things. I could easily have 2 more hours where I show you a bunch more stuff, but it's a really big deal that you recognize that after every L is a slant. And I think of these, it's like they're connected up like boxcars on a train a little bit. Everybody say out loud, move your mouth, say an L chord starting with an O. O, O, 2. Our next shape will begin with you saying a 2, and it will be a slant. 2, 3, 4. The next shape begins with you saying a 4. This is an extended slant. 4, 5, 7. Let's do all three of those. Give me an L starting with an O. O, O, 2. The last number out of your mouth is the first number of the next shape. Give me a slant starting with a 2. 2, 3, 4. Give me an extended slant starting with a 4. 4, 5, 7. Now, I'm not going to call the shapes out, but we're going to do an L, a slant, and an extended slant. And I'll just give you the first number of all of this. O. O. What is it? O. O. 2. The slant. 2, 3, 4. The extended. 4, 5, 7. Let's do that again, and I'll shut up a little more. O is the first one. O. O. 2. 2, 3, 4, 4, 5, 7. O, O, 2, 2, 3, 4, 4, 5, 7. Once you get that pattern down, it'll help you when you're practicing this, when you get a little lost, which you will. It just helps you kind of regain what you're practicing.
Hey, Steve, I've
Let's
got a
do,
question.
sure.
How does this pertain to when you're thinking and playing with other people and they say like 1, 4, 5 in song?
That's a different class, but it's a great question. What they mean is whatever key you're in.
No, I know
One,
the key, but
okay,
how would that
wait.
pertain to this? I'm sorry.
Okay, hang on. So whatever key you're in, it's important to know what's the first chord of that key. So in the key of C, the first chord is a C
See,
chord. In the key of A, the first chord is an A chord. Okay. Well, today we only have time to talk about D. So what's the first chord in the key of D? D.
D,
What's the fourth chord? D, E, F sharp, G. G is the
G.
fourth chord. Fifth chord, D, E, F sharp, G, A. A is the fifth chord. So when you're practicing at home, I need you thinking about the letters. But as you gain facility with knowing where all these are, then we can start as we get together. I can say to you, hey, we're going to be in the key of D. This is a real easy song. It's just 1 and 5 chords. So after I tell you that, you go into your little zone and ignore everybody for about 30 seconds. And you just think to yourself, I need D's and A's. Well, here's my D's. All right, I need the A's for the 5 chord. All right, and then you practice going back and forth. D, A, 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 D, A. You know,
Yeah.
I know there's about 100 ways I could answer that question, but first step is knowing these by letter name. And then a different job is knowing them by numbers so that we can change keys and just follow the same numbers no matter what key we're in.
I was just
Look
hoping there
up,
was an easy way to look at the fret and say, well, that's the next. It's not.
I haven't figured that out yet.
Okay.
But make sure you do a little research on functional harmony. Functional harmony. Because a
Okay.
1 is always a 1, no matter what key you're in. It
Right.
functions in certain ways, and you want to be familiar with that.
Thank you.
Sure, it's a good question. So, this is a long journey, but even a little, think of a beginner who takes this class. All they get out of it is moving an L chord around Well, that at least gives them a way to develop calluses and make some pretty music where they don't have to actually be playing an official song. I mean, this can be enjoyed on many levels, and you can take it as far as you want. But the first step, I think, make pretty music with these three shapes, understand how they get their letter name, see how they're connected, so that if you do want to master the whole fingerboard, you got a way to find your bearings, I think. Let me show you this neat idea. Let's say you have a melody in a song, a 5, and you look in the tab and there's no chord with it. And so you got a little group of players, and everybody says, it'd sure be nice to have a chord with that 5. I want you guys to say an L chord that ends with us saying 5. Something, something, 5. What would it be? 3, 3, 5. Say a slant that ends with us saying 5. Something, something, 5. 3, 4, 5. One more. An extended slant. Something, something, 5. 2, 3, 5. You can audition each one of those shapes, and then everybody can vote. And you may not even know what in the world you're playing. Listen to this sweet hour of prayer. Here comes a 7. I'm going to put an extended slant with it. 4, 5, 7. And then somebody says, well, what's another chord you could put with that 7? Well, let's try a slant. 5, 6, 7. Here's your 5, 6, 7. Oh, that sounds kind of nice. Is there any other ones? Yeah, we could do an L chord ends with a 7. That would be a 5, 5, 7. Oh, that's kind of cool. Maybe we could do that one at the end. Right before we end, we could do that one. But the rest of the time, you know. So you don't even have to know a whole lot about music theory. You can just audition one of these three shapes often. Sometimes there's it doesn't work out totally like that, but as long as everybody's in agreement. And sometimes I just, when I'm on stage and I don't know what chord comes next, I'll randomly pick one of these because I'm by myself, and it works out when you're by yourself. Let me just assure you this. There's like 1,000 things I could show you if you really get these down. And certainly you could get down everything on both pages I gave you, but your first step, I think, so you can get some fruit for your labor is D, G, and A. It's important to see these shapes and how they're connected together. It greatly reduces the trouble that you might have to go through. Somebody told me once, just memorize this whole book of chords. It was this big fat book. And I was like, why don't I just go memorize a phone book? Because that looks like pure torture. And then I figured out, let's see. I'll let you go after this. I figured this out. Instead of memorizing that whole book, I just worked with this for a while, and it turned out everything in that book was here on these 2 pages once I got more experienced. So enjoy your journey. And I think you know what to work with. If nothing else, just move these 3 shapes around and have a glass of wine or whatever. Thank you very much. I'll see you soon. Bye, guys.
Thank you, Steve.
Thank you.